Hey, good morning. What's up, everybody? It's Friday. I'm sitting here with my man Howard. Howard, we got a
Morning.
lot to talk about. We want to keep it nice and loose on Friday because a lot of what we're getting ready to run down is something that shouldn't be any type of uh, debate on if you're a brother and you understand your history. Uh, you saw the clip. I saw the clip of this cat that's now with the White House that just basically came out with straight racism in prime time. And it was, we were talking other day about how the racism is becoming so blatant, just right in the face, no apologies. Well, this guy took it to a new level. What was that guy's name? I forgot what it was on,
You
but
talking
I
about Benny?
saw the clip.
You talking about Benny Johnson?
That guy,
Yeah.
yeah, the one. Yo, you you break it down for the people, because when I saw that, I said, I hope people are watching this.
Let me set it up to talk about him, because what I really wanted to talk about is just, Trump has been doing this. He did it in Los Angeles, and now he's doing it in my city, in D.C. He's,
Mm-hmm.
sending in National Guard. He has federalized the police force. Last night, Pam Bondi appointed the guy who's the head of the DEA for it to be the person who's controlling the DC police. So now the chief of police in DC does not report to the mayor. They report to, she reports to this guy who's running the DEA. And they
Mm-hmm.
are going to be controlling not only their troops, but the local police as far as the directives they give them. What I'm really so upset about is that, this is the way he operates. Rather than just doing the offensive thing, he builds up a lie and then does the offensive thing. Now,
Right.
this is all built on the supposedly that crime in DC is out of control, and that
Mm-hmm.
the only hope for the city to get any better is to send in federal troops and to put up checkpoints and the different things that they have done. Um, and it's just totally outrageous. This guy, Benny Johnson, he's just one of many voices. He's a guy who is from my understanding of it, is, he calls himself some sort of media member. His salary is paid by a Russian organization. So
Yeah.
he is
Yeah.
he is pretty much somebody who's been placed here to muddy the waters and to spread disinformation. And what he has been proposing as of late is that total neighborhoods in DC should be bulldozed and built over. Now we know what neighborhoods he's talking about, because he talks
Mm-hmm.
about them in these crime-ridden terms. Um, and it's just been an American uh, trope, an American thing to lie, to naturally assume that any crime-ridden area is one with full of black people.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what he's talking about is bulldozing neighborhoods, displacing people, basically moving all of the people, the people that he describes as criminals, but then goes on to describe pretty much in animalistic terms, as if
Yeah.
he talks about infestation and things like that, as if you're going to clear out this vermin so that good civilized white MAGA folks can come into town. That's pretty much what he's talking about.
Because we as Americans deserve a capital city that is beautiful and safe and that projects the power and the values of Western civilization. We do not deserve the crime-addled, narco welfare hellscape that DC has become.
I guess what I'm so frustrated about is that we're seeing all of this. We're seeing it right up in our face. We got people breaking it down. We got more people. We got more white people alarming, sounding the alarm on all of this than brothers are. I never heard anything like this ever, except for when they referred to everything that was happening in Germany during Hitler's time.
Right.
Because what he's, like you said, the infestation. Everything is a lie, though. Talking about when he said that they all the black people came up to DC for the civil rights movement, and then when it happened, they didn't leave.
What happened to DC, especially during the civil rights period, was that protesters that were bussed up here stayed here. The city was burned to the ground. This happened during massive riots throughout the 60s and 70s. Mass swaths of the city were torched and were never really rebuilt.
Yeah.
They burned the city down. It was just lies after lies after lies. And the things that they're talking about with trying to put the head of the DEA in charge of the police department. I'm glad they're resisting it. But once again, Bowser, she comes off a little weak. But this is a situation where I told you, I told my family, we're not going downtown DC. We're not doing that unless somebody's got to go there during the day on business or whatever, because they're just itching for one little situation that they can use to make it seem as if it's real bad, because they're in the prime areas. They're set up around Penn Quarter. They had a checkpoint right there on 14th Street the other night, and they're trying to instigate something that's not there. And they're trying to go from blue city to blue city to blue city to black mayor to black mayor to black mayor.
They are doing it in this city. In my assessment, they've chosen this city first to do that because they have the ability to do it, because DC is not a state. It's a federal territory, and they have jurisdiction here if necessary. It's all, if you get, I don't know if people who are watching this who don't live here aren't familiar with DC, but if you get arrested in DC, your case is going to be the United States versus you, because it's not. There are no counties here. There's no state here. This is the federal government here, which is, we can get into representation, taxation without representation. That's a subject for another show. But they're doing it because they can more easily do it here, because they don't have to deal with governors or deal with county sheriffs or anything like that here. They can do that here. What disturbs me, though, is that they're using language, and actually they're not showing imagery. They're conjuring imagery of times in the past.
Yeah.
When, oh, by the way, we didn't need to do any of this stuff to stop it. Okay. I pulled up on some numbers just to give people an idea of just how egregious these lies are, how ridiculous it is. Mm-hmm. In 1995, okay, in the mid-90s, that's when DC was known as the murder capital of the world. That's when the crack epidemic was at a high, and DC was bad. Although, I mean, I knew a number of brothers who are participating in that statistic, but it was serious. Even then, though, NDC was more of what had become known earlier decades as Chocolate City. DC had a higher black population of citizenry. All right, there were 400 homicides in 1995. Okay, you know how many homicides there are in DC as of today? There are 101. So at that rate, that's half the amount that was at 1995. Now, I'm not condoning a single murder or homicide. I don't want to get this misconstrued. I'm not saying, oh, little murder's okay. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that Trump is out there saying that crime in DC is out of control and it's worse than it has ever been. And that is not the case.
It's a straight up lie, but they keep pushing, and they keep pushing that narrative over and over again. They're not letting off of it. And for me, this should be a real big wake up call for everybody. It shouldn't be any more going back and forth about, both parties. Right now, we have just one party that's allowing all of this to happen. And so I don't want to hear any more history lessons from brothers. I don't want to hear anything out of context when we're talking about this right here. Like you said, with this being DC, being a district, it does make it so that they can test what they can do right here, right now. And like I said, they're talking about going to Baltimore,
right,
Philly,
right,
New York, all these blue cities. and also where you got the black mayors as well. So I'm at the point now where these type of things, the blatant racism, and brothers want to just keep making excuses to not vote, to not talk about what is happening now. I'm tired of brothers going back in history saying, coded shit. You saw some of the things that I sent you the other day with brothers talking. I'm talking about I'm talking about the takeover of DC, and saying, just being rhetorical about, hey, look, I never seen this happen with Bush, Obama, Biden. We haven't seen it like this in terms of federalizing DC and bringing in the troops. And somebody want to start talking about where they're the same internationally, blah blah blah. I'm like, what the fuck does that have to do with what's going on right now?
I agree with you.
I don't understand this. And this is the thing that we have to keep fighting. Every time you point out something that's racist, this right here with this guy, Dollar Moore, he broke it down. A bunch of other people broke it down as well.
And so what President Trump is doing is reasserting control of not only our nation's capital, but truly the seat of Western civilization.
It's just white supremacy right in your face. And then you got brothers who continue to listen to people like Farrakhan. What is Farrakhan saying right now about this? He doesn't see what's happening. He doesn't see how this is a danger to black folks in DC, people who are in the DMV. I don't hear him say anything about this at all, but brothers will follow him. They will listen to him on nonsense and not even realizing that the guy has endorsed the occupant. We can go down a list, but how much has to happen for these brothers to show some humility and realize that, hey, first, we got to put our fight in terms of priorities. We first need to be able to get people in there so that our vote can actually build power. But a lot of things with all this happening, and I got brothers making excuses. I got brothers don't want to admit that, okay, maybe they're wrong. I got brothers realizing that, hey, this is affecting us directly now. For me, I don't understand it, but I'm tired of these Negroes with these excuses and these changing the subjects and deflections, because if they're really serious about our progression, then they would acknowledge what's going on and bring us together and say, okay, look, let's handle the enemy that's at the gate right now.
What I've tried to say to some of these brothers, and I haven't, I'll be honest with you, I've avoided many of them just because I'm just tired of the ignorance. But, when I'd like to point out to them that this isn't like, we're not talking about hypotheticals anymore.
Right.
We are here. And oh, by the way, if your eyes are open, if you're looking around, this authoritarianism is not just directed at black folks. They are using black folks to scapegoat it and to bring some of it along. But everyone is suffering from this thing. And if you want
strictly about white males, right. It's all about white males and that whole old school agenda.
Right.
Yep.
And so and I don't know what to say. You're saying, what can we do if they can't snap to that reality, then I don't know what to do.
And that scares me. And that really scares me. It does.
I don't know what to do.
I've talked to brothers before, and I talk about the civil rights. I've had brothers say to me, well, they weren't fighting for my rights. I've had brothers say this shit to me. They weren't fighting for my rights. I had brothers say that, hey, look, we need to do stuff for ourselves. We don't need to depend on the government when the government is cutting programs out that would allow us to be able to grow. I hear all these kind of excuses. And I'm sitting there saying, okay, you got all these excuses. You talk about the Dems started, the crime bill, all this shit. What is your solution? Every time you ask these Negroes that, you ask, okay, all right, I'm hearing you then. Yeah, I understand the history. They'll break down all this shit. But then you say, okay, well, then what's your solution?
They don't have one. And I don't know what it is. I know why I feel the way I do about this. And a big reason is because I have I'm older. I have my father and mother grew up during segregation. I was born in 1963, so that puts me right before the civil rights, laws were passed. So I've had a little bit of exposure to it. And if I didn't have direct exposure to it, I got a whole lot of stories from my relatives about the stuff they had to deal with. What I don't think some of these brothers understand is that is a reality. When you're watching movies or reading books or whatever, I don't think they read, so I'm going to say not reading books. But when you watch like Mississippi Burning, that is not fiction. This is not this is history. This happened.
Right.
And it happened during our lifetime. This is what I get mad about when I talk to some of my white friends who want to pretend like this is like we're so far away from those types of things. I'm like, look, my parents couldn't be in the same room with your parents. What are we talking about?
Right.
What are we talking about?
Right.
I wouldn't have had the right to vote had I been old enough to. So, I mean, it's like, my goodness, you all have to like wake up that this is something that we are not that far away from it. Things go in cycles.
Yep,
they seem to think, oh, well, we don't need them to, we don't need to be dependent on the white man and the government. Well, guess what? You need the government to protect your rights.
Exactly.
You need that.
Exactly.
I met this libertarian. I was at a show. I don't know if I've told the story before, but I was at a show back in, it was during when Obama was running the first time. I remember exactly what it was. And it was in Baltimore. And it was at a jazz concert. We were at these tables, and it was like you sat at the table. It was like there were no, seats, assigned seats. You just got in there and you sat down at the table. It was nice. I don't even remember the venue, but it was a nice venue. I was sitting next to a guy who had traveled down from Delaware. He's a libertarian. And he was telling me all the reasons libertarianism was good and all this stuff. And he asked me what I thought about it. And I said, if the world was the way you described and there were no laws, I can't be at this table with you. The only reason I can be at this table is because they passed a law that said they have to let me in this motherfucker. That's why.
Right.
So what these brothers do not understand that we are a nation of laws, and that's the only thing that's keeping us above ground. That's keeping us.
And that's what it's all about. It's about making sure that laws stay in place that continue to protect us.
And
right now, the party that is looking to take those protections away from us, that's the enemy at the gate right now.
That's the enemy at the gate.
So when these Negroes want to say, well, what if the Dems dump? Motherfucker, right now, the Dems are trying to protect your rights.
Yeah.
That's what they're not understanding.
No.
And if we had control of the House and we had control of the Senate, all that shit this guy is doing wouldn't be happening.
Absolutely.
All of it wouldn't be happening. So when these brothers give these dissertations that make no sense and they're just trying to sound smart and they're just blowing, I'm like, motherfucker, let's look at what's happening now. I want to know all that stuff and crap that you just said. How does that help us right now? And I don't want to be in arguments with brothers who are about saying we should be together, but yet they're only that way when they're the ones that seems to be leading it. It's like they want to be in charge. They want to be seen. Look, I don't give it. If you want to do that, that's fine, man. But don't push me off. Don't brush me off when we're both supposed to be fighting for the same goal. And I get that with these brothers.
Yeah, I know you do.
Look, this guy just said he wants to go through the Smithsonian and make sure these exhibits are ideologically in line with the occupant.
Absolutely.
He's trying to erase our history.
This is a piece that was in the Washington Post. The White House will launch a sweeping review of Smithsonian exhibitions, collections, and operations ahead of America's 250th birthday celebrations next year. The first time the Trump administration has detailed steps to scrutinize the institution, which officials say should reflect the president's call to restore, quote, truth and sanity to American history. The vetting process would include reviewing public-facing and online content, curatorial processes and guidelines, exhibition planning and collection use, according to a letter sent to Smithsonian Secretary Lonnie G. Bunch III on Tuesday. Now, a White House official confirmed the plan, which was posted on the White House website. And this is what the Smithsonian said. The Smithsonian's work is grounded in a deep commitment to scholarly excellence, rigorous research, and the accurate factual presentation of history. We are reviewing the letter with this commitment in mind and will continue to collaborate constructively with the White House, Congress, and our governing board of regents. Let's just be as clear as possible. Randy, they're going to rig the research. They're going to strip. You can forget any real talk about slavery, Jim Crow, or any of that stuff, Randy. It ain't going to happen because these white folks don't want that. They want this to be a whitewashed history of America and a celebration. They do not want to deal with the inequities and the racism that black people, Latinos, Asian Americans, and others have faced in this country. They only want his story being presented.
That's exactly because when I told this one guy, and I know I try to break it down because, when you're communicating with people, it's not a matter of necessarily intelligence or something. Sometimes you got to find different ways to make your point. Whether it's a story,
you want to try to meet them there.
Okay, so this is my latest try.
Right.
Thank goodness there's a show on, and these people might watch it. I think it's pretty good so far. It just started. Alien Earth. I don't know if you checked it out. It's on
I haven't
FX.
checked it out.
I don't know if you're in. Check out Alien movies or whatever. Right. It's in the Alien universe, like the movie Alien. But anyway, it's a look at the future of. It takes place about 100 years in the future. But at that point, there are no countries. Corporations run the world, which is, I think, they're moving toward. See, what Donald Trump and those like him, Elon Musk, that Vladimir Putin, all of them would prefer. They would prefer to have large corporations with their own military, and that can control whatever lands they are big and bad enough to control, or they can negotiate with someone else, and they don't care about anything else. There's no such thing as a free society anymore because they have enough corporate might, enough resources to dictate things. Yeah. And that's what and rather than what was the American dream? The American dream was you could come here, work hard, find a niche, and you could make your own money. But what they want to do is, and I try to think about it as a corporation. Think about it, if you're going to go work, when you go get a job at Walmart, you may work yourself up the ladder, but you're not going to Walmart saying, you know what, I'm going to take this little corner over here and I'm going to set up Howard's shop in Walmart. I'm going to make my own little thing. They're like, no, dude, you're out of here.
No, you're Walmart, baby.
You're out of here. And that's that's what they're trying to do here. That's what this whole thing. And so I'm trying to use that one, but they don't understand, like you said, that the Democrats are trying to help you keep on to whatever rights you have so that you can do all this, building of generational wealth. That's the thing I get, from those brothers. You start talking about the generational wealth and blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? If you don't have laws that protect your business, the laws that protect your personal sovereignty, you're out, you're ass out.
Yeah, that whole thing about, generational wealth. Okay, well, they're starting to cut all these particular contracts out for brothers to get that. I mean, then you're looking at government jobs being knocked out because of all these DEI initiatives. Right. So you want to build generational wealth, but one of the doors to that, in fact, several other doors to that are being removed by the occupant because he doesn't give a damn about us.
No.
They don't want us to keep making this money.
No.
And so when I point this out to a brother, it's like they'll jump to another subject that you can just prove them wrong. Well, what about in terms of businesses and all that and locally? I said, well, Obama provided a lot in terms of what he wanted to do with businesses. He gave money to open up doors for you guys in business. But you don't want to talk about that. You want to talk about and follow what these white folks say about Chicago. You guys want to say, well, he didn't do anything for Chicago. Well, I'm gonna go back to Farrakhan again? What did Farrakhan do for Chicago?
Right.
You know, what Obama could do was put federal laws in place that could benefit local laws that were already there. But you can't, brothers. I don't know what it is. You talk about brainwashing.
Mm-hmm.
You, like you said, civil rights. I'd never forget going into my senior year in high school, Chapel Hill, 1987. You got the Klan walking down Franklin Street.
Mm-hmm.
You got the Klan walking down Franklin Street. I saw that shit. I said, I'll be damned if I'm staying in this state to go to school.
See, because what really frustrates me in this era we're in is that people don't, for whatever reason, enough of them don't believe their own eyes. They allow someone. It's just like the January 6th thing. We all saw what happened, but let's get back to DC. Okay,
yeah.
DC, where they had those checkpoints and all that kind of stuff. Check out those people. Like, I know you said brothers aren't like white people seem to be more upset in DC than the brothers seem to be doing it. Well, one reason is, I'm gonna tell you, at least the brothers, at least the older brothers in DC, they know a lot better that when the police are out hunting, not good time to go out there and start yelling. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. Yeah.
But look at the people protesting. Most of them are white. When they were talking about leave our streets, most of them are white, which I'm happy to see. But the other thing I want, it's against this narrative. See, that's what the most ironic and frustrating thing about this is that DC is, in my lifetime, for the most part, maybe there was a year somewhere, not only is DC pretty much safer than it's ever been in my lifetime, going against the Donald Trump's Stephen Miller narrative, DC is whiter than it's ever been in my lifetime. It is just like, what is this guy talking about? What is he talking? He's lying in order to do the same thing he did in Los Angeles. And I can feel for now those people in Los Angeles, because even though we had that conversation on this podcast about how they were on Fox News making it seem like there was a riot going on when there really wasn't a riot going on, you could see that if you didn't have that critical thinking going, you could believe that there was something worse going on in Los Angeles than actually was happening. And so that's what really upsets me now about this, because if you're not from here, if you're not from the DMV or come here often, then why wouldn't you believe, and you're somebody who was inclined to give Trump the benefit of the doubt. And unfortunately, there are enough of those people still. Too many of them.
Too many of them.
There's no reason to not believe it. And that's what really bothers me. I'm just like, this is crazy. This guy, I mean, I sell houses for a living. I go all over the place. And, I just recently had to show some property in what is thought of as being a terrible neighborhood, Anacostia. Now, is Anacostia the best neighborhood in the world? No. But I'm telling you, it's light years what it was in 1995.
Right.
And, it's just ridiculous for him to be doing this. And this is the narrative. If they're allowed to set this template, they're going to go to city to city. It's going to be harder to do now because governors are going to get involved and, counties and all that kind of stuff. But, we have to make sure that as best we can, that this lie is aired, that the truth can be seen, that this is not what they say it is. And like you said, you can't necessarily do it all with statistics, because we all know statistics can be manipulated, even within, but let's just use our eyes. Use
our eyes, use common sense. And if we look at history, if we know the struggle of our people, we know that what we're seeing ain't good. We know that it ain't good.
No.
So this whole shit about both parties and all that right now, let's stop it. Just look at what's happening in front of us. Now, let's look at what's happening in front of us. Let's look at who is enabling it, and let's look at who's enabling it, but let's also look at those who are fighting it. Let's get on the side with those who are fighting it. And then all that other crap you want to talk about, let's talk about that in a couple of years. But right now, let's get on the side of democracy. But anyway, we're going to leave with that today. That's going to be our chat for today, everybody. Next week, we're going to definitely be talking about another weekend of football. We got the WNBA playoffs coming up, and got to be talking about what's going to happen in college football as well. But anyway, everybody, this is my man Howard. I'm Couch. We're out.
Take care.
Talk to you soon. Peace.